All right, if you're here, you're tuning in for the first ever Allen Alpaca's video posted to YouTube. Today we're gonna make a paddleboard cart. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. Every time we take the kids to the river, there's just a lot of stuff to carry. There are usually quite a few adults, but by the time you have paddleboards and coolers and backpacks, it can be kind of tough to get everything down to the river when you have little kids. I've also got a trip planned to go do a paddleboard overnighter up in northern Arizona, hopefully in the next week or two. And the walk down from where you park your car to the reservoir is pretty far and it's pretty steep, and I'll have a lot of gear with me, so I'm finally biting the bullet and getting this project done. I need to take a couple of measurements on my paddleboard. I was looking on Amazon where I bought it, and it says it's 4 inches thick, but I want to blow it up just to make sure I'm getting it right. I don't know if that's accounting for the pad on top of the paddleboard and maybe some of the webbing, so I want to make sure my measurements right, so let's blow that up. All right, I always tell myself I'm gonna buy an electric pump, but it's something that I just never think about until I'm actually pumping. And then I probably won't think about it until the next time I'm pumping, so we'll see if we ever get one of those. All right, so I'm gonna take a board and put it underneath the paddleboard, right behind the back fin. And then I'm gonna throw another one up top. And I'm glad I did this because it said it was 4 inches thick. I was gonna do like 4.5. But as I'm looking at this now, it's way thicker than that. So this is 7 inches. And really it needs to be able to clear over this strap. So I'm gonna show you what we're trying to make here and the parts that we're gonna need to buy from Home Depot. I think I have an 1.25 inch stick of PVC already, so that's probably what we're gonna do this out of, just so I can save a little money there and just buy the fittings. So I'll double check that before I leave, make sure I know what size it is, but basically we're gonna get some elbows, then a PVC, another elbow, and then a little piece of PVC here on each side, another elbow, another elbow. And then I've seen people just take another elbow and come down to the wheels. I think I'm gonna take a 3-way T and put it here. I'd like to have another piece of PVC across here. I think some people are making these with 2 to 3 inch PVC. I'm doing an 1.25 inch, which I think should be enough, but just in case I wanna have that brace across there. And then we'll do another stick of PVC there, here, another T, another T here, and then PVC here. We'll get some caps on the end of this, some of those flat screw-in caps or whatever, or glue-in caps. We'll drill a hole through there, and put a piece of threaded metal through there. And then I've got some lawnmower wheels from an old lawnmower that I don't use anymore that I think are good size for this, that I'll put on the end. So that's kind of the gist of what we're making here. It's pretty simple. The tail of the paddleboard goes through there and butts up against the fin on the bottom. The other thing I've seen people do is they'll put the paddleboard in upside down. I kind of want to be able to put the paddleboard flat side up, so I can stack gear on top of the paddleboard, or I can put other paddleboards on top of the paddleboard. So I need to make it tall enough that the fin won't drag on the ground when it's hanging down. And then we'll just take like a bungee cord and strap it around the bottom of the board and wrap it around that fin instead of the top. So I'm gonna double check that 1.25 inch PVC that I have, make sure it's 1.25 inch, and then we will head to Home Depot. So yep, we have 1.25 inch PVC. Looks like a whole stick of it. I hope that's enough. That should be good. what do you know? We got 2 turtles just chilling here. They're both boys, in case you were wondering. Okay, now we're gonna go back up and make a little cut list. All right, I want to cut these and kind of start fitting it together before I make these final cuts. So I'm gonna go grab one of my kids and we are gonna make those cuts. All right, so I got alpaca number 3 here. His name is Barrett, and he's gonna help me make some of these cuts. All right, Barrett. All right, Barrett, you're gonna do these. Here you go. And your marker. So you're gonna measure out 3 1/8 inch. All right, other than the fact that that wants to bend, I think this might be okay. I'm gonna glue down some of these joints that I know are okay so that it can't move on me, and then we'll give it a shot. All right, I grabbed some blue Loctite so I could lock down those nuts. They're pretty loose. I'm using the blue just in case I want to take them off again, but I definitely don't want to lose them. They've already fallen off one time. And then I'm going to try out this bungee cord that I had on the paddleboard already, and just to see if that helps this be a little bit more secure. When I'm out, the fin will be on the bottom and that will pin up against this, and I think it'll make it a little more secure, but I don't really feel like putting that on right now, so this is what you get. I'm tightening it all the way down and then I'm backing it off just a little bit. All right, that's all set up. It's rolling a lot smoother now, and I think this is exactly what I want. A lot of room for gear there. You can stack paddle boards on top of this as long as they don't have the fins already attached, and we can push them around wherever we want to go. So definitely grateful for this paddleboard cart. It is working swimmingly. I estimate I have probably 7,500 pounds of gear on there. Purposely stacked it towards the back, or I guess the front here, so it's easier to lift this end. But this is really nice. So this is where I'd be taking multiple trips down there with all this stuff, and seems like it's fairly easy to maneuver. I like it. Hey, so I just wanted to take a minute and talk about a couple things that I think are really important about this paddleboard cart that I made. So I don't know if you can see here, but if you look down there to the left of the nut and the lock washer there's a larger washer that's sitting on the face of the PVC reducer there. So basically what's happening here is that nut on the inside there is sandwiched down hard on that large washer with the lock washer, and the same thing is happening on the other side. So it's this sandwich of pressure that's pushing those washers into the side of that PVC reducer, so that the weight that pushes down on the axle and gets transferred to the PVC is distributed across the whole face of that PVC reducer instead of just the inside edge of it. And I think that will hopefully be safer in the long run and make this thing last a little bit longer and not break on me when I'm out in the field and need it to work. So I mean, we'll stay tuned and see how this does in the long run, but I do think that this is a problem that I've seen in several other videos, and I think this is a pretty good way to fix it. It's pretty cheap, and so far it's worked pretty well. My Blue Ridge Reservoir video, in my opinion, shows more weight put on this paddleboard cart than any other video I've seen on YouTube. I'm not saying that my cart's for sure better, but I do think this is a problem for these DIY builds that everybody has had that I've seen so far, and I think this, in my opinion, fixes it the best way possible. I'm definitely not trying to diss on some of those other carts, because I got all of my inspiration for it from those other videos, but I do think that this is a pretty good way to solve that problem. So thanks, catch you next time.